Before we start this tutorial on how to install the program and get it running, I will show you what the end results should look like. The program outputs two images that we can layer on top of one another. We can use the one with the notes present as foreground and the one with just the lines as background. Then we can erase notes and export each frame. The benefit of this is that you don't have to erase in between the lines, which would take up a lot of time and effort. This way you can just erase notes with a big eraser. This program will save you a lot of time and effort, but it takes a few steps to set it up, so bear with me. If something in this video does not work for you, there's a Discord server for this project linked in the description and in the GitHub repository. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them there, maybe I can help. After creating this video, I realized that to set up a running version of the program on your own PC, the executable files seem a bit shady, especially if you're not into coding. If you can't get the setup to work for you or you don't trust the executable files, I can completely understand. You can join the Discord server that is linked in the video description or linked in the GitHub repository. Once you join the server, you will see a dedicated chat where you can upload pictures of a piano piece. I will download the pictures and run the program for you on my PC, and I will send you the content that the program generates back to you. So essentially, you can use the program without installing it on your PC. It would still be a good idea to watch the video anyways. Even if I run it on my PC, I still need the parameters of the piece, which I talk about later in the video. Steps 1 and 2 are very simple. For the first step, just download the PDF that you want to convert, and for the second step, just find the website that exports each side of a PDF to an image. For this, just Google PDF to image. After completing the first two steps, create a folder somewhere. Inside of that created folder, create two new folders. One will be the input folder where the images of the PDF that you converted will be placed, and the other one will be an output folder that remains empty for now. This output folder will be used by the program to output the generated images. The names of the folders do not matter at this point, you can name them however you want. Inside of the input folder, place your images that you converted from PDF. After copying those here, make sure to rename them in the correct order. This will be important for the program later on. Start the numbering from 1 and just increase it by 1 for each picture. For step 4, you have to go to the link in the description, scroll down to the project overview, and then click on the link depending on what PC you use. For Mac, it will look something like this. You have to click download. For Windows, it looks like this. You have to click download on the top right. I use Windows, so I'll download this. Here it says that the file is too big for Google to verify. Hit download anyways. This will take a moment. For Windows, you will have to extract the files inside to a folder like this. Once it has finished exporting, double-click the AniMusic app inside of the new folder. Because Windows cannot verify the program, you will have to click on More Information and then on Start Anyways. If this part is too shady for you, I can completely understand. In the GitHub repository, you can look at the whole codebase for this project. You can, for example, let ChatGPT verify that nothing shady is going on in this code. You can also start the program only using the code in the GitHub repository. How to do that would be too long for this video, but I'm sure you can ask ChatGPT or look for other video tutorials online that teach you how to start the code inside of a GitHub repository. For this step, you will need to open the program. For Mac, this can take a bit of time because macOS does some kind of safety checks to ensure that there's no malware. Be patient, this can take over a minute, but the program will eventually start. The following steps are the exact same on Windows and Mac. The following few micro steps are just for Mac users. If you use Windows, feel free to skip them. I have to emphasize again at this point that because this is not a signed official app, Mac does not like to open it. The following steps will all seem very shady. But as I mentioned earlier, instead of running this executable file directly on your PC, you can always use the Discord server. You can always also just run the code directly from the GitHub repository, which is open source. If you need any help figuring out how to run the open source code from GitHub directly, maybe also join the Discord server and maybe I can help with those problems as well. If enough people want to run the code like that, maybe I can create a separate video. In order to open the program on a Mac, you need to do a couple more steps. That is because Mac does not recognize the file as an executable when you download it. As I had trouble screen recording on my Mac, I have to show this part with screenshots only. After downloading the file from Google Drive, you need to move it from your downloads folder to some other folder that you created. I created a test folder. Then right-click on the bottom right of the window on your folder. A pop-up should appear. You have to click on this, which is highlighted. It should be something like Open in Terminal. This opens a terminal at your folder. You shouldn't see those red boxes, I just edited those in. Now in the terminal, in order to make it an executable file, you have to write this command. chmod space +x space AniMusic Mac. Make sure the spelling and capital letters are correct. When you hit enter, the file picture should have changed from a white picture to some black picture with exec written in it. If that is the case, then Mac now recognizes this file as an executable file. Now double-click the file. A pop-up should appear that this could not have been opened because, like on Windows, Mac cannot verify that this is an official app, which makes sense because it isn't. Just press OK and don't delete it. Now you have to go into your security settings and scroll down until you see this in safety settings. Something along the lines of AniMusic Mac was blocked to protect your Mac. You can press on Open Anyways. Then double-click the app again and then click on Open Anyways. It will take a minute or so for Mac to start the program, so be patient. After it starts, it will look like the Windows version. I just have the dark mode turned on my Mac, so it looks like this. Open all the pictures of the PDF file and count the number of staves that you have. Go through each page and count individually and then add them up together in the end. In my case, in the end, I had 24 staves. Pay attention to how much of the left side needs to be cut off, and if it is the same in every stave or different for some. For this piece, it is the same for all, but I will show how to use the program in the end for a piece in which the left cut of some staves are different due to a time and key signature change. Now measure the amount of pixels that need to be cut off for the left side. In Paint, you can look at the bottom left corner for the result. The left number in the bottom left corner is the x coordinate and the right number is the y coordinate. We only need the x coordinate for this one. It starts at around 120 pixels and ends at about 270 pixels. This means that we need to cut off around 150 pixels for each staff. Go to the program and enter the number of staves and the cut value here. Because all of our staffs need the same cut value, we'll tick this box. If they do not have the same cut value, you will need to enter each number individually for each staff. In the end, I will show you how to do that. Now we are almost done. You will need to find the folders that you made in the beginning and correctly assign the input and output folder. Be sure that the input folder really contains all the pictures that you need. After assigning the input and output folder, we'll need to measure the height and the length of a measure. For the height, go back to Paint and now look at the second coordinate at the bottom left. The top is at around 180 pixels and the bottom is around 380 pixels. This would be 200 pixels, but be careful with this, some staves could be a bit shorter than others. So I will enter a lower number than that, I'll go with a 160. If you want to be on the safe side, enter a number smaller than what you actually measured, maybe like 40 or 50 pixels less. Do the same measurement for the width of the measure as well. Here you can actually round up and not down. This measurement is not as important as the height. For me, this would be around 400 pixels. If you are finished with entering all the relevant information, just click Generate. Now the program is generating the final results. Depending on the length of the piece, this can take up to a minute or so. Now the generated pictures are inside of the results folder that you specified. For the whole concatenated image, use the grand files. If you just want a single page, look inside of the different folders. For the next step, just load both of the exported pictures as different layers into Paint, for example. Make sure to use the one with the nodes as foreground and the lines only as background. Sometimes some lines will incorrectly be identified as measurement separators, for example. Just go into the line mask and erase those before continuing. Now we move on to an example where the left cut is not always the same for each staff. In this piece, there's a time and key signature change, so we need to change how much of the left side is being cut. You have to measure for each staff individually. The most important part is that you keep the very first entry 1 at the very top at 0 pixels always. We don't need to cut the left in the very first staff. As you can see by the output, I have cut off a bit too much at some staves and a bit too little at other staves. So I need to adjust for that and remeasure. After this, the output is exactly what I want it to be, and so I'm done with this step and can start erase. If you have any questions along the way or something didn't work, feel free to join the Discord server and ask the questions there. I hope that I can answer all of them.